Hello, 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 and welcome. This is the Texas Live, and it will be me tonight. My co-host Sue Ellen is still on vacation, and she'll be back June 9th. Hope everyone is doing well and healthy and happy and ready for the new week. Mondays are always rough, and at least it's over. Anyway, tonight, our topic, shadow people, sleep paralysis, and the Hat Man. The reports of shadow people, seemingly glimpses of dark, very dark shadows, shaped like humans, are reported all over the world. I'm talking globally, and it has been reported throughout history and continues to be reported. And it is like a black silhouette of a person. Hey, Patricia. Glad you joined me. But it's a black silhouette that's darker than the surrounding blackness. It's just creepy. And like I said, it's just a black silhouette without any defining features, and they move very fast. And some have reported shadow animals and shadow insects, and a strange type or types of smoke that's really not there. It's like a shadow. Very strange. But the unsettling thing about it is that most often people feel threatened or they feel extreme anxiety during these experiences. The most terrifying of these shadow beings seems to be one called the Hat Man, a negative shadow being who is always reported wearing a hat, like a black fedora, believe it or not. And of course it would be black because it's a shadow, so there you go. But we'll discuss if this phenomena is true or false, and if it's true, what do they want? And I'll also discuss my own experiences with this phenomena, which I've had a few, and it's pretty crazy. Sounds pretty crazy till you experience it, and you're like, wow, that really hits home. Patricia, you say I saw in the title you were going to talk about the Hat Man. Who's that? And you have you seen the Haunting of Hill House? No, I haven't. That may be similar to that topic, but if you've seen it, you'll understand it. No, I haven't seen that movie. But you say like a bowler hat or more of a fedora? It's more of a fedora, more of a wide-brimmed fedora, and but it's really creepy, and this one seems to be the leader or the main one, the most powerful one, the most negative one, or what we'll get into that. But anyway, I'm going to take a short break and allow more listeners that want to join our live chat to do so. So I'll be back in 3 minutes, and we'll get started on this very fascinating and a little chilling topic. So get ready for the shadow people, sleep paralysis, and the Hat Man. Be right back.
Shooting me with words, but I won't let them bruise. Even though it hurts, I won't show it to you. 'cause it will ricochet. I won't let it bite. I will look at you and tell you that I'm alright. Like a ricochet, it will come back to you. 'Cause I don't care about you anymore. So you can't hurt me like you did before. Let me tell you, not because my eyes are open, your words will keep bouncing away. And even if you're trying to hurt me, my skin's getting thicker each day. I don't know how you fall asleep at night, knowing that your words are hurtful, it's just not right. Not because my eyes are open, your words will keep bouncing away. Like a ricochet, like a ricochet, like a ricochet, like a ricochet. I used to let it in, all the things you said. You try to turn me into somebody else, but it will ricochet. I won't let it bite. I will look at you and tell you that I'm alright. Like a ricochet, it will come back to you. 'Cause I don't care about you anymore. So you can't hurt me like you did before. Let me tell you, not because my eyes are open, your words will keep bouncing away. And even if you're trying to hurt me, my skin's getting thicker each day. Don't know how you fall asleep at night, knowing that your words are hurtful, it's just not right. No, because my eyes are open, your words will keep bouncing away. Like a ricochet, like a ricochet, like a ricochet, like a ricochet. Let me tell you, not because my eyes are open, your words will keep bouncing away. And even if you're trying to hurt me, my skin's getting thicker each day. Don't know how you fall asleep at night, knowing that your words are hurtful, it's just not right. No, because my eyes are open, your words will keep bouncing away. Like a ricochet. Oh, like a ricochet. Oh, it's like a ricochet.
And I am back. Hello, Mona. Hello, April. And hello, Patricia. Are you scared? I'm not. Now, watch me get visited by like a stadium full of shadow people tonight since I said I wasn't scared. One can only wish. I'm kidding. I guess in my opinion, the best way to, view that is if they want to. Oh, great. Thank you. I should sound great. I should sound heavenly because I have literally worked and worked and worked for hours and hours and hours, blood, sweat, tears, to sound good. So thank you for that. But yes, my opinion, my theory on shadow people, anything like this, is that when you show fear, when you show anxiety, or you're I don't know, you get your you just become more and more. It's a downward spiral. You just become more and more scared, unsettled, and it just gets deeper and deeper. And when that does, unfortunately, they seem to feed off of that, off of that fear. And so when you can joke about something. Now, I mean, I wouldn't be joking about it if they were here right now. I mean, but yes, Patricia, that's a good point. Confusion. Well, yes. I mean, they feed off of that. Seem to feed off of that too. But what does confusion lead to? Leads to fear eventually. I mean, when someone is confused and they're not sure about what's going on, they're kind of lost. So, and when you're lost, you're fearful. I mean, because you don't know what's going on. And definitely with something like this is very strange, because it's like I said, they have no defining features. It's just black, and they seem to have the ability to travel interdimensionally. Now, we will get into that. I will be reading an article by that was in Gaia last year, Halloween of last year. It was they were talking about the Hat Man and sleep paralysis and things like that. It says, beginning with the Hat Man, and like I said, I've had personal experiences myself with this, and it is. There's only one time that I have ever been literally afraid. I mean, I'm talking really, it was bad. And it's something that I have never talked about. I mean, I've just told a few people about it, very few. And it's something that really affected me, and big time. And it was something that was so powerful that, well, let's just say I hope I never experience that again. I mean, it was, whoa. In my life, or since I've been doing what I do, I mean, as far as, helping people with this type of problem and everything, this just hit out of the blue, and was the worst experience that I've ever had in 27 years, and definitely something I'll never forget. So I will get to that. But Patricia, you say, like, if you're walking down the street and one suddenly pops up, what the hell am I looking at? And it may take a bit for your brain to figure out what you're actually looking at and make sense of it. Well, yeah, that would be really creepy. Most of the time, it's when a person is at home, or they may be with a few people. It's rarely reported happening when someone's walking down the street or something like that. It's usually in a building or woods or something, because they tend to pop in, whatever. But one here where we live, when we first moved in, I saw it, and it just darted in front of our bedroom door, and I didn't think anything about it because I've seen it before. I mean I've seen shadow people before, and it's more like a loop most of the time. And when I say loop, it's like they're not really there. It's like an imprint, like a movie that is playing a loop. And the reason why that I say loop is because there's a difference in that's called a residual haunting, which I kind of have a problem with that. But anyway, I would prefer some type of spiritual imprint that's been left behind versus a haunting. But they call it a residual haunting because it is what has been left behind, what has been imprinted from a tragic, or maybe where someone died. Maybe it wasn't tragic, they just died, and it was something that was traumatic to them, and that imprint was left, and so it just plays over and over and over like their last seconds or whatever. And now, the difference between a residual haunting and an actual active haunting is this shadow person, being whatever, didn't even know, wasn't capable of knowing, because like I said, it's just a movie. It's like a film. Never showed any signs of being sentient, of knowing anything. Now, if that shadow person had have stopped and looked at me, that would be completely different. That would be something that would really be creepy, and it would be something that would need to be taken care of right away, because that would be the number one sign that you've got a problem, because they know that you know. And most of the time, you're okay as long as they don't know that you know. But when they know you know, when they know that you can see them, things get pretty. They increase in intensity pretty quickly, especially if it's a negative entity, and that's not a good thing. Fortunately, this one was not wearing a hat, so that's great. But it says it's not clear who first reported an encounter with the Hat Man, but when this woman's name is Heidi Hollis. But when Heidi Hollis began, and I've read quite a bit of her reports and her research into shadow people, and she's pretty knowledgeable. She says, but when Heidi Hollis began cultivating reports on the shadow people phenomena, she knew she had to distinguish it from reports of the Hat Man. According to Hollis, the Hat Man typically appears at night, dressed in a long black trench coat, a black three-piece suit, and a black hat, either a fedora, top hat, or cowboy hat. Witnesses say that the Hat Man's eyes glow red, and occasionally he checks a gold pocket watch chained to his belt. He is described as being at least 6 feet tall, although usually his stature reaches between 7 and 10 feet. Now, Okay, I'm just going to interject a little bit here. The only problem I have with that is the first reports of people seeing the Hat Man, he was completely black. All right. Now, during each case that I have ever assisted with, that I've helped people with, this is something that I always watch for. Is I ask them over and over and over, and I ask different people in the family. You know, if it's more than, sometimes it's someone living by themselves. So I'll tell them to have a friend over. So I can talk to more than one person, but I talk to everybody, children, whatever, in the house, and I get their stories, and then I ask them again and again and again, and I watch for things just like I just read. Okay, the first reports, totally black, totally black silhouette. That's why they're called shadow people. And then you have a black three-piece suit. Okay, how would you know it was a black three-piece suit? It was a three-piece suit if it's just a shadow. Very strange. And then they say that his eyes glow red. That's pretty creepy, but that is very, very much different from just being a shadow, because I guess it's in our mind and our subconscious. I'm not sure, but if you were going to choose an eye color that would be the creepiest, it would be red eyes. I mean, red against black. Yeah, there's something there that's just not right. And then occasionally he checks a gold pocket watch chained to his belt. Okay, a gold pocket watch? Okay, now you're seeing color. So basically what you're seeing is they're not seeing a shadow person, they're seeing a hologram. Or, God forbid, they're seeing a total manifestation in this realm, which would take, I don't know. I mean, it would take power to manifest physically. It would take so much power to manifest physically, say, into a physical body, to become matter, that it would almost be like nuclear power that would take to manifest. Okay, now he is described as being at least 6 feet tall, though his usual stature reaches between 7 and 10 feet. But really, I don't care if he's 4 feet. If he's in my presence and he's an entity. Okay, Mona, thank you for being here, and I love you. Be careful. Have a good night. But it doesn't matter if he's 4 feet or 10 feet. He's still creepy, and he shouldn't be there. So anyway, another thing that this tells me is that whether or not, it doesn't matter if his watch is gold or whatever, him checking that watch tells me that he has something to do with time itself, or Chronos, which Chronos, Saturn. There's something very, very strange going on there, and but that tells me that he or it is really sending a message about time, that wanting people to know Maybe he can control time. I'm not sure, but that's very strange. Why else would he be checking a human instrument, a watch? I mean, if he's this ultra-dimensional entity, he doesn't need a watch. He's just doing that, or it's just doing that for the person, to show the person something, or to give them some kind of a, I don't know, a sign or whatever. But she said Hat Man experiences involve a sense of inherent fear. As Hollis says, she believes he is a manifestation of negative energy in a person's life. She says she's never seen the Hat Man herself, chalking it up to a strong sense of faith and spirituality. That's what I've always said. Build up your core, and have faith in your that no matter what, I mean, you're going to nothing can harm you or hurt you or whatever. And spirituality, truth, love, build on those things and stay away from trying to summon shadow people or the Hat Man, which I've heard some people, they've actually called on this thing to show up, and not a good idea. She says that she's never seen the Hat Man, but her roommate, on the other hand, has in fact seen this wicked figure, resulting in full-on panic attack. Now, when she says that she believes that he is a manifestation of negative energy in a person's life, that's what you have to ask yourself, or that's what I have been thinking about, I'd say in the last year, is the possibility that, yes, there are negative entities, and they do cause people problems. They do feed off of people, but are they a creation of that person's own consciousness? And when I say that, I'm talking about, could it be that the fear, the anxiety, the anticipation of being harmed, or everything that goes through someone's mind, that fear just builds and builds and builds. Does our consciousness have a way of somehow forming all of that energy, that negative energy, into something that we can give form to, that we can see, that, because it seems to me like that I have never seen anyone who has had a positive outlook and very happy, that were lighthearted and not afraid to laugh, have fun. I have never seen them experience this kind of thing with negative entities. It's those that are depressed, those that are filled with anxiety, those that are negative, those that have a negative outlook, and those who have basically stopped trying. Now, with me, like if you were around me 24/7, you would hear me say many things that would be that could be construed as being negative. That's just me. Most of the time I'm joking, but sometimes I'm not. But in the end, I'm never giving up, and I haven't yet, and I never intend to. So it's like I have a positive outlook, and more than anything, it's the negativity. It's the negativity of, I guess you could say, the negative circumstances of the world that just frustrate me. And what I'm talking about is when I have to do something. The first time very rarely ever works. Do I have to do it a second time? Oh, no. Do I have to do it a third time? No, that'd be too easy. I have to do it like 5 to 10 times to get it right. And after about, the fourth or fifth time, I'm frustrated. So I may just, I may toss the laptop out a window. I mean, I'm kidding, but what I'm saying is I may say, I'm done, I'm done. And then 30 minutes later, I'm back at it. So is that me being negative, drawing, negative things into my life? Well, not really. Is it me being negative? I guess you could say so, kind of in a way. It's more my personality. But like I said, I'm never going to stop. So I think that's the main thing, is someone who is never going to stop. It's always going to be moving forward. It's when someone slows down and someone stops, someone comes to a halt, that they become a target and susceptible to these lower, as many people say, these lower vibrational entities. When I say entity, I'm talking about energies, if you will. I mean, and possibly a part of that person's mind, that person's consciousness, that has taken a mind of its own. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think that there's times when that happens, when, say, like a person creates an altar, and that altar isn't good. Or maybe that altar says, I don't need this host anymore. And so it's my theory that sometimes they go rogue. They become completely sentient. And they don't need that human host anymore. So they break free, and what happens? Well, they don't have a host, they don't have a body. So there's your demon, or there's your entity, or there's your shadow person. It's just a theory. You can, it's just something to, ponder, but I think that it is something that we should think about and, study, look more into. This woman says that her roommate jumped out of bed and began screaming at the top of her lungs when she saw the Hat Man. But as soon as Hollis opened the door to her room, finding her friend backed into a corner, he immediately disappeared. The Hat Man is alleged to whisper ominous warnings to his victims, occasionally speaking in riddles. Creepy. Hollis says he is where the buck stops when it comes to negativity. Unfortunately, there are no Hat Man pictures except for the occasional drawing posted online, though it seems it would be difficult to capture a picture of such a frightening entity when surrounded by darkness and fear in one's bed. I agree. It would be really difficult. especially when you're paralyzed. And that's another thing, is sleep paralysis. There's many people that experience these, shadow people during what's called sleep paralysis. And I've experienced it. I've experienced the sleep paralysis, and it's like my mind woke up, and I start to get up, but my body's still asleep. And my eyes, I think I could see through my physical eyes. I'm not sure if it was my physical eyes or my spiritual eyes, but I could see, and I could see these people, shadow people. I couldn't see a gold watch. I couldn't see what they were wearing or anything. I couldn't see any faces, but they were standing around the bed, and I couldn't move, which was, it's not a good feeling. But that I just I didn't freak out, because I knew that would just cause more problems. So I just laid there, relaxed as much as I could, and eventually it was over and nothing happened. But anyway, it would be easy to write off the Hat Man as a fabricated entity from someone with clever storytelling skills, and then circulated by an easily frightened group of victims. But in reality, there are few explanations that might make more sense. After all, Hollis and her roommate aren't the only ones to have experienced or heard about the Hat Man and other shadow entities. The late great Coast to Coast host Art Bell covered the phenomena for years, listening to many stories on the topic until his recent passing. And one would assume that if the experience is shared by a large number of people, there must be some explanation, whether physical or psychological. And I'm not saying that they're demons. I'm not saying that they're evil entities from hell or anything like that. I'm saying that they could be, maybe. And they could be from the hell of our own mind. That's what I'm saying. That I believe there needs to be more study into that very point, that very theory that I've put out there, is when someone's mind splits, when an alter is created, or alters are created in DID or multiple personality disorder. Could it be possible that an alter goes rogue, and when it does, it's free, and because an alter is nothing more than a created personality. And what is a person? A person is defined as someone who has a personality. So this is the tremendous power of the human mind, of consciousness, is creating a personality. I mean, creating an intelligent, a sentient personality. And whether or not the alter goes rogue, as I said, which I think there may be one or two cases that I have read about, something very rare, and I'm not even sure that they're true or that they're factual, but like I said, I wasn't there. Like I always say, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But the more that I think about the experiences that I've had with people, the more that I am beginning to lean to in favor of that it is part of their own consciousness. It's part of their own mental projection, their own mental. They're the ones that create these things for the most part, and then it's my theory that they come to the point to where, or that creation process comes to the point to where that the alter, or that part of their mind, begins to create itself apart from them. It's very difficult to explain, because what we're talking about is we're talking about the core of one's mind creating the alter to begin with, and then possibly the alter having, I guess you could say, a completely separate consciousness. Doesn't start out that way, but over time, I believe that that's possible. That the alter doesn't really, in these rare cases, doesn't always go back to the core personality. It's completely different, and that's very fascinating. It's very amazing, and it's also very unsettling when you think about it. It's amazing, but also pretty creepy when you think about it. Okay. One explanation that would seem to make the most sense is a common disorder known as sleep paralysis. It is believed that somewhere between 25 and 50% of adults in the U.S. have or will experience sleep paralysis at some point in their lives, and the incident can be horrifying. Sleep paralysis occurs when REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, the deep dreaming phase of the sleep cycle, becomes interrupted, dysfunctional, or occurs too quickly. Understandably, this is why sleep paralysis occurs more frequently with narcoleptics and people who have trouble sleeping. Our bodies have a mechanism when we sleep that paralyzes us to prevent sleepwalking while we're unconscious. According to one study, the body releases a combination of gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA, and glycine, switching off cells in the brain responsible for skeletal muscle control. But for some, this mechanism may onset too early or occur while one is between lucidity and dreaming. That's when hallucinations occur. One of the most common hallucinations in these scenarios is the feeling that there's something or someone else in the room. Some people even feel like a demon is sitting on their chest. Sounds horrifying, right? Well, yeah, I would say so. Unsurprisingly, one of the experiences people report with the Hat Man involves him jumping on their chest and choking them, much like the sleep paralysis demon. And this phenomena has been reported for centuries, depicted as far back as the 1700s, such as classic Renaissance pieces as John Henry Fuseli's, I think I said that right, The Nightmare. And it's a creepy painting, The Nightmare, of a little demon sitting on a woman's chest. So, yeah, that wouldn't be good. But when our dreams are so varied, why would people continue to report seeing the same entity with the same features? One explanation could be that they are archetypes, fears shared within our collective unconsciousness. Now, that's something that has caught my attention in this, because I think one of the first 10 podcasts I ever did was on shadow people. So it's something that I've been interested in for quite some time, mainly because of my own experiences. But it's like the Hat Man. he doesn't have to wear that hat, or it doesn't have to wear the hat, but it wears the hat to show itself as being different, maybe like a leader, or maybe the head of the whole. I don't know, but I mean, to me, it's like a status symbol. It's like when you see the hat man, you know that it's real. I mean, you know that he means business or whatever. I don't. It's a symbol. He doesn't wear it. Doesn't wear that hat for no reason. So, but let's consider for a minute that these entities are more than hallucinations. Is it possible that the Hat Man or shadow people could be extra-dimensional entities? Is there potential in the idea that certain people unwittingly manifest entities into their lives that can slip between dimensions as they please? Well, when you think about the modern or the latest, when I say latest, I'm talking 2016, 2017 news from CERN, from the Dr. Geordie Rose, talking about, not just talking about, but talking about with no doubt, not what if there are parallel realities, but speaking matter-of-factly, there are parallel realities, and that's why that they're working so hard and nonstop on building the first working quantum computer. Now, Geordie Rose is the founder of D-Wave quantum computers, and people say, well, quantum computing it's here. You've got D-Wave computers. Well, yes, they're called quantum computers, but trust me, that's not a quantum computer. That's not what they're after. That's not their goal. If that was their goal, we would be okay. Humanity would be fine. But since their goal is a true quantum computer, that's the problem. And he said, and they say, I'm talking not just Geordie Rose, but I'm talking about Dr. James Gates, actually Dr. Sylvester James Gates Jr., the physicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson. They say that a quantum computer will be able to reach into these other dimensions. Okay, now, what if these shadow people, what if the Hat Man can travel in and out of these different realities? And what if, and this goes back to the simulation theory, but what if each one of these parallel alternate realities are nothing more than programs? Okay, enter the matrix. And it's very strange how with each topic that we talk about, whether it be shadow people or it be time travel or it be this or that we always come back to, or we seemingly come back to, the best way, one of the best ways to explain it would be the simulation theory. That this is in fact a program, one of many programs. And what's even more than that is, if you think about it, if that's true, and it seems to be true, it seems to be feasible that that's in fact the case, then you are one of many programs. And Geordie Rose says, he says, yes, he says, you are here in this dimension, you're here in this reality, you're experiencing it, but you're just as present in the other ones and experiencing those as you are this one. So could the Hat Man, could shadow people be those who have somehow gained the knowledge to travel interdimensionally? And this is a theory, just something for you to think on. But what if the shadow people that people see, that they experience, what if those shadow people are themselves? They're only from the other realities. One of the other realities. And they're here for some reason, I don't know, maybe to observe, or I have no idea. But that's something that always comes to my mind when someone tells me that they saw an entity. They saw everything about the entity, but they couldn't see its face. Couldn't see its face. Why not? Because most of the time in dreams, if that takes place, that tormentor or that person that you cannot see their face, the reason is because it's you. And your subconscious is trying to tell you something as far as that. But seeing yourself in that setting would be too traumatic, because you'd be wondering who you were, or it would just be would not be beneficial to you. And your subconscious wants to protect you. So what does it do? Well, it blacks out the face, or makes the face go away, so you won't know that it's yourself. Very interesting. This is they say that there are specific energetic hotspots that seem to manifest the paranormal. In these areas, there are greater than average sightings of UFOs, Bigfoot, and other esoteric entities. Are Hat Man sightings more prevalent in these areas? More research is needed to say for certain. Hollis claims that victims' individual energy and spirituality and lack thereof can be responsible for summoning the Hat Man. Surely we've all had experiences in life where we've recognized that a negative attitude summoned a negative outcome. But is there really some type of cosmic function in which negative emotional and spiritual input equals the output of a terrifying Hat Man in your closet whispering menacing things into your ear? Well, they better not be in my closet. I'm just saying, that's not a good idea. I'd like to hope not. But there's a similar case involving Daniel Pinchbeck. He's a former Gaia Show host and author. He had an experience during a time in his life where he believes he summoned negative entities from a psychedelic experience, and these entities haunted him in his daily life for weeks to come. He says he entered a realm through the use of DMT, using an experimental substance in a cavalier manner without respect to its potency. He had an unpleasant experience that resonated for weeks, which he believed the entities that tormented him during his trip continued to haunt him in his home and beyond. And while he never mentioned an entity like the Hat Man, his account is nearly as terrifying. But she just goes on to say, but for now we'll leave the Hat Man in an unexplained category, lacking sufficient evidence to truly label it real or contrived. And I'm just, wondering, those of you that are listening now, those of you that are listening to the rebroadcast, have you ever experienced shadow people? Have you possibly ever experienced the Hat Man or something like that? I know I have. And nothing, well, one time it was very, very intense. The other times it was just freaky. It was just unsettling. It wasn't really scary, but at the same time it was definitely weird, because you just knew that something. I just know that something was there. I saw it. I felt it, and there was no denying it. And on top of that, there's been times when I've had people that I've not said anything to that have asked me if I had seen a similar thing, and I'm like, yes. And so when it's another person that's seeing it, that's where the truth really hits you hard, because you know that you're not hallucinating and that it's real. So anyway, I got to take a short break. When I come back, I'll describe my own experiences and the one that tops them all. So be right back.
I'm laying down it to compile it. Oh no, I see you only when you're ballin'. Oh no, I don't even care to doubt. I'll see you in a while, 'cause this time I will choose you, yeah. Now choose. You know exactly how to look like this. Holding in a bag full of goods and needs. I need a night like this. Knowing it's a risk, 'cause you're using it. You've got all your secrets. I can seem to move this thing. You're pulling me out and I'm right back in. The sideline where you wanted me. I'm by the byway, waiting for your lead. I don't wanna fall in love like this, but I can't help to fall for you repeatedly. I don't wanna seem to shaky. Oh no, like I'm sudden but I'm steady. Oh no, and they tell me to move on, 'cause I deserve more, but still I wanna choose you, yeah. Now choose. You know exactly how to look like this. Holding in a bag full of goods and needs. I need a night like this. Knowing it's a risk, 'cause you're using it. You got all your secrets. I can seem to move this thing. You're pulling me out and I'm right back in. I'm on the sideline where you wanted me. I'm by the byway, waiting for but I can't help to fall for you repeatedly.
And I am back. Okay. So hopefully there won't be anyone listening to this broadcast that will experience any shadow people after listening, but I'm not sure what the deal is, but Mona, she asked me, or she told me yesterday that she was seeing these seemingly like small, like spiders or insects out of the corner of her eye, which is basically a shadow person thing. It's where you just you catch a glimpse of something moving very fast, and sometimes you catch a split second more than you should, and you actually see the form, that it's shaped like a person. Same thing with these smaller things. Like I said, some people report seeing spirit animals, or shadow animals, or shadow insects. So she was telling me about that, and so I had to tell her, yeah, I've seen them too, and to the point to where, and it's not a floater. It's I had a detached retina, so I know what that is. You have something plainly floating in your eye that you think is a spider, a bug, whatever, and to the point to where that you're going to, you're going to kill it, you're going to smash it or whatever, and it's not there. Well, my eyes are perfect now, and she has no problem with her eyes, and we're both seeing these seemingly shadow insects or spiders or whatever. And it's not the first time for me. I lived in a place that I was renting with my brother years ago, and this place became a hotbed of I don't know, it was like spiritual rodents. And it was not real rodents. It wasn't real mice or rats or whatever. It was shadows. Literal shadows. And even in the dark, you could see these things. And they'd be like running along the walls, and yes, I've been tested. I'm not crazy. I'm not insane. So I am just fine. So don't worry about that. But I didn't say anything to him because he would be very. He's a huge guy, like 6'1", weighs like 280, but he would be terrified if something like that was even brought up. He would probably move out. So I didn't say anything to him, about it, and but I kept seeing it. It was mainly at night, and I would see it. So one day he just, out of the blue, he just says, man, he goes, what is it with these shadow, he said, these dark things that are running around all over the floor. And I just looked at him and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And he says, I see these things. He said, it's like they're just everywhere. And that's when I knew that it was was real. It wasn't just me possibly making these things up for whatever reason. I mean, people. There were time that was a time in my life that I was going through some stress and a lot of stress, and sometimes people they handle stress differently depending on the situation. And so I was like, hell, I don't know, I might be hallucinating. I might be making these things up in my own mind because of the stress I'm going through. But when he said that he was seeing them too, then I told him, I said, yeah, I've been seeing them, and excuse me, and but here, just this year, there was we had there was a young woman and her 2 children that moved in that we were helping, and her son was 6 years old. Excuse me. And I had not said anything about the shadow person here, the shadow entity here, whatever it is, and nothing at all. And so we're out, and I get this text from his mother, and she said, named his name, and she said, he just said that he saw this dark being, he said, that ran by him, he said, like a flash, and ran into the back bedroom. And she said, is there something like that here? And I was like, whoa. I said, actually, I said, yes. I said, I wasn't going to say anything about it. I said, because I didn't want to, I said, I didn't want to freak you all out. And I said, and I didn't want to put that suggestion, in your mind. I said, but yeah, I said, I haven't really seen it that much. I said, but I have seen it. And I asked her, I said, was it wearing something on its head? And she said, yes. She said, he said that it was, that it looked like Flash, like the Marvel, comic hero, Flash, with that, I don't know what it is on his head, that fin-looking thing on his head. And that's exactly what I saw was this, thing had this, I thought it was a crown, it looked like a crown or something on its head. And that's basically what he saw. So it was the same thing. And he's 6. So, he wouldn't be making that up just to, 6 years old. If he was going to make something up, he would have said that he saw the Flash, himself, instead of just a shadow of, or, just a shadow or a silhouette of the shadow, of the Flash. And so it was very, very creepy. And, but haven't had any more activity. But the most, in my case, the most intense shadow experience that I've had was when I was a funeral director in Balmer, and this was in 1998. And I went to the hospital to make a first call, which is, picking up a person who is deceased, and bringing them back to the funeral home to embalm them. And this was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was just me. So I had done this many times. It wasn't anything new, and I went to the hospital and walked into the room where the man was, lying in the hospital bed. And as soon as I walked into the room, there was just something different about that room. There was just something, the atmosphere had just changed, and it wasn't good. And I'm thinking, what is this? What's this feeling? So I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do what needs to be done. So I put on gloves and had the cot, the stretcher, and I reach over and get this, man, and pull him over onto the cot, onto the stretcher. And when I touch him, oh man, it was like the worst feeling goes through me. Just this feeling of, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just this very dark, very, very dark, I guess you could say nasty, just, it was awful. Feeling just goes through me, and I'm thinking, what in the world is this? I mean, and of course I had been helping people with different things, spiritual problems and attachments and things like that for approximately 5 years. But that was like one or two people would, call me a year. So it wasn't like it was a really active thing that I was doing. But I got to take this man back to the funeral home, take him into the embalming room, and again pull him over on the table. And every time I would touch him, it would just be, it would just be so, I don't know, it would overwhelming. And so when you embalm someone, you have to do certain things. You have to set their features and bathe them, and bathe the body and everything, get it clean, and shave them or whatever, and get them ready. And then you make the incision to where you pull up the carotid artery and the vein, jugular vein, and you inject the embalming fluid through the carotid artery, and you drain through the vein, and it pushes the blood out as the embalming fluid goes in, and the person they set up. Now, when I say they set up, they become firm. Their skin becomes firm, and that's where the term. Someone heard an embalmer say, "Yes, the body set up good," and they took that as the body sat up, literally. Like, you've heard people say that body just set up, and they had to put it back down. No, there's been nobody ever. I don't care what people say. I worked over 20 years in the funeral business around so many bodies, and never, ever, ever, ever did one ever set up. That term set up is S-E-T, not S-I-T. And so somebody let their imagination get away from them, as most people do, or a lot of people do, and they have actually convinced themselves that they saw their grandfather or their uncle set up, and it's simply just not the case. So that's where that term comes from. But anyway, I make the incision, and I began to embalm him. And nothing happened until his blood comes out of his vein and hits the table. And then it starts, which, like I said, nothing new. But with him, oh man, when his blood came out and started flowing, which is normal, but whoa, the room just got so heavy. I'm supernaturally heavy, unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. And I became so overwhelmed that I had to back up. And when I looked, there was this weird smoke. It looked like smoke, but it wasn't smoke. It was more like that darkness from like a shadow person. But this was smoke, or it appeared to be smoke. To be honest with you, I have no idea what it was. But it was literally coming up from this man's blood. And it looked like a small whirling dark cloud or whatever. And I could feel that this thing was sentient. I mean, it wasn't just an empty cloud. I mean, it wasn't just an empty darkness. This was an entity. I mean, it was, I guess, for lack of a better term, it was a demon. And what really got me was how it affected me. Just being in the presence of it. Truthfully, I thought someone in my family had died, and I just didn't know about it. So I made my way to the phone. This was before cell phones, I made my way to the phone on the wall, and I called my grandmother. She was alive at the time, of course. I called my wife and my mother, just to make sure that, I was trying to find out who had died, because it was that powerful. And I asked them if everything was okay, and they said yes, everything was fine. So I didn't let them know that there was anything wrong with me, because, like I said, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then it was 2 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock. It went on. It was a rough night. And so after I made the phone calls, and I go back, and this dark smoke is still there, and it's just moving very, very slowly. And so I go over, and all I can do is sit down, and I can't really see, because I'm really, really getting slammed by this thing. I mean, to the point where that I'm like crying And I really don't know why that I'm crying, but I just feel this hopelessness that is so terrifying that I can't even, that death would be better, you know. And so I start, I just, tell this thing, whatever, just, kill me, because I mean, that'd be better than, being in the fear and the tremendous anxiety, undescribable, that I was in. And it's like this thing was laughing. And so I start praying. That's the only thing I knew to do. I start praying. And it's like I could feel it. And it, never spoke out loud. But it's like, telling me, go ahead and pray. See if it helps you. When you're through, I'm still going to be here. And it was terrifying. I mean, it's the only time that I have ever really, I guess you could say, lost. I mean, just like, man, it was like no contest. And so after a couple of hours of just sitting there, I look and it goes up through the ceiling, and I didn't see it anymore. I went over, I finished embalming the man, and that was that. I will say that I will never mention that man's name, not even speaking to myself. And from that day on, or from his burial on, I would never walk by his grave. That's how much that affected me. Was that completely terrifying, unforgettable, and it's like I said, it was a smoke. Very similar to the smoke monster in the series Lost back in 2000. What was it? 2003, 2004, when Lost was on. But this was 1998. This was before Lost. So when I saw what they had put in the series Lost, that smoke monster, or whatever it was, I was like, oh my God, that looks like what I experienced at the funeral home with that man, with that certain man. And gosh, man, I wish there were more people taking part in the live chat, but so be it. Because I would like to know what people think about what that might be. As far as the shadow people, it's pretty. For that to take the form of a person, that says a lot. I mean, but for it to just take like no form at all, just like a smoky mass or cloud, and just remain like that, I don't know. I would like to hear listeners, theories on what they think that might be, what that might have been, and if you've had similar, experiences like that. But definitely negative. So I have never heard of anyone having an experience with shadow people or a shadow animal or whatever that was positive, that left them feeling warm and fuzzy afterwards. But anyway, we're at an hour and a half, so I'm going to call it a night. And those of you who would like to contact me, you may contact me at the texarsispodcast@gmail.com. And keep in mind that that there's now we now have a Facebook group for the podcast, the Texarcist Live Podcast. Just look it up on Facebook. Join us, and you'll be notified of different information concerning the show, and you can leave your ideas, opinions, and topics that you'd like to see in the show. And but anyway, also if you would like to be on the show, there's 2 people that I'm talking to now that are potential guests. But if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please send me an email of what you would like to talk about, what you'd like to share, and let's talk about it, and hey, we'll do it. But anyway, I guess that about does it for tonight. Love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. See you next time.